This first lesson is about Freud's dream theory. In this lesson, you will learn about the origin of dreams, the function of dreams, and dream interpretation. According to Freud, the mind is divided up into three parts: the id, the ego, and the superego. The id is a term coined by Freud to describe the most primitive and unconscious part of the psyche. It operates according to the pleasure principle, seeking to satisfy basic biological drives and impulses such as hunger, thirst, and sexual desire without regard for social norms, morals, or consequences. The superego is a term coined by Freud, and it's the second part of the mind, to describe that part of the psyche which represents internalized moral and ethical standards of society, learned through socialization and cultural values. It acts as a kind of conscience or moral compass, inhibiting the impulses of the id and enforcing moral principles and ethical behavior. The last part is the ego. This is the part of the psyche that mediates between the conflicting demands of the id and the superego, as well as the external world. It operates according to the reality principle, seeking to satisfy the desires of the id in a way that is acceptable to the superego and also meeting the demands of the external environment. The ego is another term for the self. The problem is, this is not an easy job. In fact, there's a lot of conflict. The id wants what the id wants, and the superego tries to avoid letting that happen, and in fact makes a person feel guilty about wanting things. So the ego has a very difficult task of trying to maintain order within the psyche. Let's take a look at an example of how this might work. Think about someone who really likes smoking. In fact, they smoke a lot. The id might remind this person of how good it feels to smoke. And in fact, the id would encourage the person to keep on smoking. Now, the superego might make the person feel guilty about smoking and encourage them to stop. So what does the ego do? The ego has to balance between these two desires. So how is this all connected to dreams? Well, the answer is a bit complicated, but we'll explain in the next few slides. To begin with, for Freud, you can think of the brain as being like a dream factory. The brain creates dreams while you sleep. To create the dreams, the brain uses different elements and puts them together. The first element is day residue. So what is day residue? Day residue simply means memories of the events of the day. So, if you had a day where you were having a lot of stress at work, maybe arguing with your boss, you may dream about arguing with your boss. That would be day residue. In addition to the day residue, another element, and in fact a more important element, is wish fulfillment. Your desires. According to Freud, the most important part of dreams is the unconscious wishes that you have that are buried deep within your psyche. The wishes and the day residue are combined in a process known as condensation. We all have dreams where we might meet someone who represents a person we know, but also another person that we know. Or one image suddenly transforms into another image. This is a process known as condensation, where different ideas and different symbols are combined together within a dream. In addition to condensation, our emotions play a huge role in dreams, and sometimes they can be displaced onto objects or to situations or even removed from situations. So you could have a dream where something extremely terrible is happening to you, and yet your emotions remain flat. While in another dream, you could find yourself overreacting to the most minor of problems. Another key element in dreams for Freud is what he refers to as considerations of representation. And what that means is that our emotions and thoughts and wishes become transformed into symbols. So for example, let's just say that we have in this picture a man who goes to sleep and he's very angry, or he has deep down anxiety or stress or hostile feelings towards someone. These feelings and emotions can reappear in the dream in a symbolic form. In this case, it's a dragon, representing his own anger. Another key element in the process of dream creation is called secondary revision. Secondary revision is a concept introduced by Freud to describe the process that occurs during dream work, which is the process by which the unconscious mind expresses itself in dreams. To put it more clearly, secondary revision refers to the editing and reshaping of the dream material into a coherent and understandable narrative that can be remembered and interpreted by the dream. It involves the involvement of the ego and the preconscious mind in the dream formation process as they attempt to make sense of the fragmented and often bizarre images and symbols generated by the unconscious. That concludes the first lesson on Freud's theory. The next lesson we will look at the methods he actually used to interpret dreams.